Nice background changes. Welcome, everyone.
That's even better.
Hi, everyone. This is Abel Talamantes, chess director of the Mechanics Institute, and I have with me Dr. Judith Starry. Welcome to the Mechanics Chess Social Friday afternoon, and we have a very special guest with us, Mike Hoffpauir, who's now the U.S. Chess President, newly elected. So thank you for joining us.
Sure, thank you for having me. And I want to give a shout out to Judith for all the help she provided when we had the online play task force. You know, her leadership and experience was very instrumental in the success that task force had, and allowing us to roll out, a new chapter 10 of the U.S. chess rules of chess that specifically is devoted to online chess. And Judith was instrumental in that, in bringing all of her online experience to that particular forum. So Judith, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I mean, huge shout out to you and Ryan, your leadership. I mean, your organization skill is beyond anything you can imagine. And you think I have good organization skills, you guys are a total different level. So I aim for that. And I felt that we had an amazing group. I mean, I think you selected the group, right? If I'm correct. What was so let's talk about that a little bit. What was your vision, who to select, and what experience did you look for when you selected people for that task force?
Well, before you do that, let me introduce myself to all the players out there, the members. So my name is Mike Hoffpauir. I grew up in South Louisiana. So it took me 27 years of service in the U.S. Army to lose most of my Cajun accent. But I'm, I grew up as playing some chess, but I pretty much quit playing when I was in the military because there just wasn't time for me to do that. And then when my first kid was born, I taught him how to play, and actually found I didn't like being a chess parent because I hated looking through the windows of the doors all the time trying to see if my son was finished, and figured out, hey, if I was a tournament director, I could at least be in the same room, So that's when I became a tournament director and rose up through the ranks of tournament directors to become a national tournament director, and I'm also a FIDE arbiter. So that's pretty much my chess background. Now go ahead and ask me your question again. How did I select them?
When did you move to Virginia? You are currently reside in Virginia, and you're a big part of the Virginia Chess Association.
Yeah, well, my last duty station in the military was in this area. Okay. And when I got out of the military, I knew I wanted to continue working for the military in some capacity. So, I found work here locally, so I wouldn't have to move around and, uproot the family all over again, and have been here in the Norfolk, Virginia area now since like August of 2003. Nice. So,
and you're also part of the Virginia Chess Association, right?
Yeah, I'm a past president of the Virginia Chess Federation. I did that for like 5 years, and then I've been on the board ever since probably 2004 or 2005 there. And right now I'm the executive secretary and treasurer.
What was it like being involved? Because I saw that you were involved in scholastic chess also in Virginia.
Yeah, deeply. I kind of got my roots in scholastic chess because one of my kids was playing. So I directed, or I was a floor tournament director at quite a few national events before I rose up through the ranks. I've even run a few of the national events as the chief TD since then. But in Virginia, there's a regional organization called the Virginia Scholastic Chess Association. It sounds like it's statewide, but it's not. It's a regional organization. And one of my former mentors, Peter Hopkins, who passed in about 2012 or so, had asked me to help out at his tournaments and so forth. And he's kind of one of the gentlemen that brought me along as a young tournament director and taught me how to run tournaments and organize them the right way and so forth. Had me doing pairing cards before I learned how to use the computer, and so I kind of knew how to run tournaments. So I knew how to run tournaments. But yeah, I was mostly scholastics. If you look at my tournament record, probably 80% is scholastic events.
What's the what are the chess politics like in the scholastics and in the regular in Virginia? Are people generally organizations cooperative, or is there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, there's no squabbling at all.
Oh, very different from California.
It's in I think it's just a function of that. Some ways like California, Virginia's kind of large and sprawled out. I mean, it's obviously not like Texas or as big as California, but I was the scholastic coordinator for chess in Massachusetts for a year when I was going to Harvard for a fellowship that I had through the Army. And while I was there, I mean, I saw a lot of political infighting and so forth. And even a little state like Massachusetts was divided into two different regions from a chess perspective. And here in Virginia, when I got here at the end of 2003, I saw a little bit of that, but it wasn't nothing like what I had experienced, in other places. And here, chess has a much more regional nature, so sort of southwestern Virginia and the Roanoke area where Virginia Tech is located is they kind of run their own things, and Northern Virginia has its own thing, and the Tidewater area where I am here with another senior tournament director, probably going to be an ANTD not too much longer from now, Tina Schweiss, has a huge club out in this area. There's no competition among the groups and no fighting or nothing. It's pretty cooperative.
And it seems like all those groups can cater to their players and the regional interests there too.
Oh yeah, I mean, like in Northern Virginia, it's probably like some areas there in your area, but I mean, when before COVID, I mean, if you were going to have a tournament on Saturday morning, you could put the word out at 6 o'clock in the morning and still have 200 kids there. I mean, it's exaggerating, of course, but there's a big element of truth to it because we didn't have to advertise in a TLA or anything. Just send a few emails out and boom, you got kids banging the doors down to play. So
that's great to have that kind of interest.
Yeah, it's. I'm not sure what the experience is where you are, but the experience here is that the kids are the most active when they're like between 5th grade and 8th grade. And then when they get to high school, it tends to drop off, for a variety of reasons. But that's where I tend to see the bell curve is on both sides of the 5th to 8th grade hump, I call it. And then it drops off.
I think we have a little. I think ours is a little bit shifted to the younger grades because here we have a lot of Indian and Chinese population, which they push them a lot sooner. So 7th, 8th age, so that's like 2nd, 3rd grade, they are really, really rising. But we do see the plateau around 7th grade and 8th grade definitely, and high school, we basically lose them. There's a high school league which was active, and then not so much. There are a few active high schools, but which they actually won the national championship. I think not this past spring because it was canceled, but the year before I think they were the champion. Well, if I remember correctly, the Cupertino
Monte Vista.
Yeah, we have one of the high school national powerhouses is here in Virginia. They usually are in the top 5 in the nation with the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology.
But that's like isolated, right?
I think we played them in the chess.com league.
But they're very, very active, very good. They have a very, very strong program. It's ingrained in the school culture. So that's kind of what the ultimate is that you have a school that's not only supportive, but it's their team, and they, like that they've got their team, and they know their team is always contending for a national championship. I think at least here in Virginia, the experience that I have with kids dropping out as they get older is really kind of twofold. One is some want to concentrate more on their academics, and I especially see that for seniors. even among top players, kids that are, IM or FM caliber, they may back it off a bit in their senior year of high school, just so they can get into the school that they're trying to get into, to make sure their grades are that much higher.
Yeah.
But I also see it, starting pretty much in ninth grade, where they get to high school and there's so many other activities that compete with chess, whether it's, computer club or robotics club or math club or, chemistry or some science club or, Model UN, all those things tend to compete with chess for the kids' time.
And I have a senior, and this is exactly it, right? And especially junior and senior year, their AP course loads are so high. Like,
right.
They simply don't have time to prepare, and they would be shy to show up to a tournament they didn't prepare. They are conscious enough by that time that they're not going to show up for a tournament they didn't have time to prepare. So it's actually, it's a tough.
And they're trying to diversify their interests for the college app, right? Like they said,
yeah.
and all that in the standardized tests. So,
right.
So what year did you join the USCF board? Because prior to you becoming president this year.
Well, I can go back further than that. I was on the Scholastic committee and then council from probably about 2008 or thereabouts, or 2007.
Wow.
Jay Stallings, I kind of ran into Jay Stallings at a lot of nationals when I was a younger tournament director. And he was one of the ones who encouraged me to be on the Scholastic committee. And when I got on the Scholastic committee, they found out that I got, organizational skills like Judith mentioned. And so they started taking advantage of that. So it wasn't long before I found myself on the council. And I've been the guy who I basically rewrote all the Scholastic regulations in about 2010 or so. And
yeah, I mean, I've worked with Judith for, I think, 6 years already. And then she was coming back telling me that when she worked with this online task force, like, everybody's so organized. And I'm like, wow, compared to her, like, if she's saying that they're so organized, that's got to be a powerhouse group.
Well, for me, it's part of my background because from the military, but also in business, you have to be organized to run a business, and that's what I do.
And so from the Scholastic Council, you then ran for a board seat.
That would have been probably, this is the start of my 5th year. So probably 2015 or thereabouts.
Okay.
Ran.
And what has that been experienced like? Because from the outside, from what I see anyway, it really occupies a lot of time to fulfill the position and do it in a way that's really effective. Has that been your experience? And what have you seen from other board members that may not have realized the work output necessary to do the job well?
Well, the time I've been on the board, at least I've found that the board is, despite what you see in the forums and in other places, the board is rather harmonious when it comes to getting work done. And I've always enjoyed that, and the exchange of ideas and so forth that occur in the board are very helpful. When I first got on the board appeared to be just coming out of several years of cycles where the board would get intimately involved, almost literally in the day-to-day running of chess, and wasn't focusing on what a board focuses on, which are strategic level issues for an organization. And we were also just starting to get our feet on the ground as becoming a 501c3 organization. So there were some organizational changes occurring. There were some what I'd call board cultural changes that were occurring. And ever since probably 2016 or so, the board has been focused very much so at the strategic level, and we try like crazy to keep all the day-to-day stuff out of it, because that's what we have an executive director for, is to manage the manage the office and manage the employees and manage the work and so forth.
How did
Yeah, and I feel US Chess was lucky with Miss Hoffman and now Carol Meyer. They both are a really good
What was even more amazing,
directors, right?
what was
Yeah.
even more amazing was Jean Hoffman has a chess background,
Yeah.
not just as a player, but also as an organizer of activities for kids and so forth with the organization that she was involved with out in Arizona. And when I got to the board, she was already the executive director and had been for a couple of years, almost 3 years by that time. And when she decided to leave, it was her assessment that the organization had outgrown what she was able to bring to the table, and that the organization needed to grow, and that if she stayed, it wasn't a roadblock, but she didn't have the skills and really the experience, not so much the skills, but the experience to take the organization in the direction that she knew it needed to go, which was to get feathers on its wings and start to fly as a 501c3. And so in order to do that, that's why we brought in people for interviews who were experts in 501c3 organizations. Didn't matter if they had a chess background or not. We knew we had plenty of chess players, so what we needed was an expert in nonprofit organizations and leadership. And so, I mean, we had probably about 90 or 100 initial candidates, and I would say probably 2/3 of them, you could just look at the resume and instantly say, no, not qualified, because they were just chess players looking for a job, basically. And it was clear on the applications that what we were looking for was someone with 501c3 expertise. And so we narrowed it down to about 15 people. Yeah, it was 15, and we did interviews by phone over the course of about 3 months, and narrowed that down to 5 or 6, finalists. And all of those people had face-to-face interviews at the U.S. Open in Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah, I remember that.
Years ago.
Yeah.
So, and then we selected Jean from that. And that's where we.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the Jean, I meant Carol, but yeah. So.
Yeah, and then when Carol has been doing a really great job and really firm, and I like that she's very protective of her employees, and that you want to see that in an executive director, that you can.
She doesn't know what the Spanish opening is, but I don't think she needs to either.
No, she doesn't. It's good. Let's talk about a little bit about your plans for the future as a president. Alan Priest, the former president, handed you a board and a presidency with really clear financial, because he had a CPA background, and that was really amazing how clear it was, and how really good budgetary proposals and plans. So what are the new waves or new ideas that you're bringing?
Well, it's definitely, I appreciate you giving the shout out to Alan, because his financial skills are just, phenomenal.
Yes.
In between himself and then prior and then starting again now, Randy Bauer and also Chuck Unruh.
Yeah.
All three of them have strong. Chuck was, Randy was the state budget director for the state of Iowa. So that's some pretty powerful, organizational and budget, financial management types of skills. And Chuck owns his own, very lucrative business in the oil industry. And he is a market guru. I mean, he knows how to play the stock markets. So we have seen lots of growth, and he moves money around like it's no tomorrow, and every place he moves it just makes more money. So, it takes care of things like the Players Health and Benefits Fund. It also has grown U.S. Chess's on-hand cash deposits, so that, we can go through the COVID crisis with really no problem at all from a financial perspective. So it's grown significantly. But looking forward, I kind of have several things on my mind. One is I definitely intend to maintain the growing and good relationships with FIDE. I'm on the rules commission for FIDE as one of the counselors. So when FIDE works on its rules, I'm one of the 5 people that's doing that. David Hayter, who's also a member of the board, is on FIDE's equivalent of the ethics committee for U.S. Chess. So he does that. And Alan is on their financial management board. So we have strong people in places that can, make a difference in chess. And as an example, FIDE is really struggling right now how to come up with rules for online play. I mean, they are way behind where we are.
Yes.
And so we gave them a copy of Chapter 10. I had given them a draft back in May or June when we first got started. Said, hey, this is where we're heading. This is what we're doing. This is what we organized. And then I gave them a new copy of it a couple of weeks ago, right after we had published, hours from the delegates meeting. But FIDE is really struggling about how to deal with online chess, and it appears that the direction that they're going will be that you can't rate event unless there's a tournament director wherever the play is occurring. That they appear to be holding to that because they're not looking at doing separate online ratings at all. They want it to only be able to contribute to a player's over the board rating, and the only way they'll do that is if there's tournament directors wherever the play is occurring from.
So it would have to be over the board then, unless everyone's using a computer or something.
Well, even then, they're not going to do cameras and all that sort of stuff. It would have to be like a hub site where you have 50 people playing, but you got 2 or 3 tournament directors that are there to monitor the play.
Right.
So it's almost like over the board, except it's just done online instead of over the board. But the other initiatives or the other directions that I want to see is, I'm completely reshaping there's a committee called the Competition Integrity Committee, which is the anti-cheating basically, but the Competition Integrity Committee, I'm cleaning house in that and giving it a new focus, and the focus is going to be to take the results of adjudicated and complete ethics cases and do some analysis of those ethics cases to try to determine lessons learned that can be distributed to organizers and directors to try to deter cheating. Robert Hess from chess.com is going to be part of that. And we've got Marty Grund from ICC is going to be part of that. And Brian Yang, who Judith knows from the Online Play Task Force, Brian's going to be the chair of that committee. And we're pulling in people who have, online chess backgrounds, because it's not just about online chess, it's about over the board chess too. So we want to make sure that we're pulling in lessons and expertise across.
Yeah, you need people with substantial rules background and online background, so it's a good group of people.
Well, not just that too. We've encountered a lot of issues just because of the volume of the online events we run. We've had to deal with cheating and fair play violations and how to handle it, and we've had to do cases where because we send games to Dr. Ken Regan, we know where there's something happening where it's very, very close to the level where chess.com will take action, but it hasn't gotten there yet. And we've had to do outreach to parents if it's a child involved and have a conversation. And one of the things I was thinking, there's a lot of psychology and best practices in terms of how do you handle this issue as an organizer. And it's good to hear that that's being considered, because I think tournament directors are going to need this, especially if we're going to encourage them to do online rated events and things of that nature, because it's something that I think organizers and tournament directors have to be very proactive with.
Yeah, and I'm going to be asking Brian as an example to reach out to what I call like-minded or like-mission kind of organizations, like if there are organizations that at the national level that run other over-the-board games like backgammon or checkers or poker and gambling, I want to get involved with those people too, so we can share lessons. And they may be doing something. Oh, wow, we haven't thought of that. That's a good one. so that we can expand our horizons beyond just what, we think is the right things to do. So that's one of the sets of initiatives. Another place where I'm very interested to get to move things along is moving or doing some updating, if you will, to all of the examinations that we have for tournament directors, because we've got online play rules now. The online play rules need to be incorporated into those tournament director exams and into the instruction for directors, so that when a director gets certified, the director is capable of running the variety of events that are out there, not just, over the board or online. You need to be capable of doing, the full range of events. Because I'm not one who's necessarily in favor of having tournament director certifications like just for scholastics, or just for over the board, or just for online. I think a director is a director, and that they need to be trained that way.
Sure. Especially with the...
Yeah, and a lot of things are applicable to both. Like once you have the skills, you can apply to over the board or online, but there are some unique skills that you should definitely have. And the simple training, and I think if we could use this newfound of online community and online channels, I think trainings would be a big new addition for any of the tournament director training, and just make sure that we are there at the certifications that US just does. So it's a very good initiative. Yeah.
And I'm also interested in doing something with chess and education that, ideally, to me, the ideal would be is if you had a nationally certified program that says, okay, if as a teacher, as an educator, here is a certified program for chess instruction that's been certified by some governing body that says we agree that that's an appropriate, curriculum for kids that are learning how to play chess. The difficulty is there isn't really a national certifying body in the U.S. It's almost like it's by state. You have to work it. It depends upon how the state departments of education are all put together. So. And
what standards you have to meet with regards to that?
Yeah, that's to me, those are all things that can be worked.
It's a huge project to overtake. Like if the chess in application, if it's a subcommittee or a committee itself or a group, or it's a huge commitment.
Right.
So I know we have very capable people to potentially lead that project or lead that committee, but it's a huge commitment, time commitment. So
that's a taste of some of the things I'm interested in.
In your opinion, how has online rated play gone? Is it gone according to expectations in terms of U.S. chess? Do you wish there was more organizations taking part in that? How's it?
It's sort of two different things, I think. One is, as you are aware, that as soon as the online stuff began, I have a background as a geologist, so I understand. I've got a science background, and I knew that early on that I wanted to be able to give, or that U.S. Chess rather should be able to give directors a bit of confidence that whatever online play platform they're selecting, or an organizer is selecting, that it's a platform that's got some built-in capabilities to be able to detect cheating, so that all the weight is not on the director or the organizer. Because to put all of that on just the director and the organizer is almost impossible, because you can't hire enough high-rated players to go through every game that's going on, out there. But I knew that, Dr. Regan had been involved in chess.com when it first got started, and they were developing their algorithms. So I knew that, and I also knew that ICC had some mechanisms in place, and I wanted to, open it up to any vendor out there that was willing, quite honestly, to open up the hood on their car and let us look under the hood and see what they're doing. And the ratings committee signed some non-disclosure agreements with chess.com and ICC and went out and checked what they had. And the guidance they had was really pretty simple. It's, these guys on the ratings committee are all professional statisticians. I mean, they're PhD type statistician people. And, so I said, what I want as output from that is if, number one, you think there's a very high probability that somebody's going to get caught if they're cheating, number one. Number two, there's a very low probability we'll get false detections out of it. And so I said, if we can meet those two, if you are comfortable as a statistician with those two criteria, then I would expect to see a letter of recommendation coming to the executive board that recommends it and it be endorsed. And that's how we went through the process. And that's what came out from chess.com's, the analysis we did with them and then with ICC. And we have, we're working with Lee Chess right now. We're in the middle of that one. And we're also looking at Professor Regan's algorithms themselves to certify them. So, to certify him so that if he's used as like an expert, then he's got the backing of US Chess. It's more like it just adds credibility to cases when they come to ethics, in particular for Professor Regan's analysis, because he doesn't offer a service that's part of, he doesn't offer a chess playing service like chess.com and all do. Right. I mean, surely anybody can hire him to be their statistician for their tournament. That a lot of people do that. But the idea was certification of his algorithm would be one, it would lower the level of concern that may come up in an ethics committee, investigation, or not investigation, but an ethics case where some games were analyzed by Professor Regan, and he thinks that his analysis strongly suggests that the players were using outside assistance. That when ethics has that letter of endorsement, it just adds a little more credibility. They still go through the due process with the member. It's not like, oh well, Professor Regan said it, boom, stamped and closed, case closed. It's not like that at all. Far from it. But giving, looking at what he does and identifying what types of circumstances or situations it can and can't support, So I don't, as an example, perhaps it may be that Professor Regan's analysis are better for games that have time controls longer than 30 minutes or something, as compared to, 2-minute bullet games and somebody said somebody was cheating. That's so.
And just for the record for our viewers, I think Professor Ken Regan doesn't accept financial compensation for routine analysis, which he plugs it in and runs it by the computer. Yeah. I mean, you do have to hire him sort of if you expect a professional expertise report. But just standard, he doesn't accept money. And I actually am amazed by that. I know he's a researcher, he's a faculty, a professor, academic, but it's still a lot of work. I know he's doing this service for a lot of people. So thank you. His techniques are purely algorithms and statistics based, whereas like chess.com, for example, is involving some technology in it, where they can detect where a player's mouse cursor is on the screen. Yeah. Or the camera is watching the head and eye movement, where the head and eyes moving off to the side all the time. So I mean, so if you get let me give you a fictitious example, a player who's player behavior. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. And player behavior, I think. Yeah, exactly. So for example, you may have a player rated 1900, 2000, 21, 2200. That player doesn't need to look at the computer every move. Especially for the first 10 or 12 moves, they're probably not looking at a computer at all. But those players also have a sense to know when they're in a little bit of trouble, and that might be when they take a look at something. So instead of you get a player rated 1000, they're looking at the computer every move. Oh, it's a good move. They're making every move off the computer, and a high-rated player doesn't need to do that. And that's a more sophisticated form of analysis and using the capability only when you really need to use it, as opposed to using it for every move. And that's hard to detect.
But the technology can do that, because if an algorithm says that on the 27th move of a game, there was one line that you needed to play, and to find that line, and every other line had a 2 points or more differential between the two players, but that one line kept the game even. And a 1900 player may not be able to find that one line, but yet that one line was found. And also during that time, the player's head and eyes were elsewhere on the screen. The player's mouse cursor had moved out of the area, just coincident with that move. Or the player got up and went to the bathroom during that move. Those are the kinds of things where, like she said, player behavior becomes part of the cheat detection process. So it's not necessarily just, that player was making moves that are stronger than Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah. So, Mike, do you play chess online for recreation?
Nope.
It's too busy with work.
Well, no, not that at all. Is that all? It's just I just couldn't get over losing. I mean, I was never one that could learn how to learn how to lose and learn from it. I was always wanting to win and just get too frustrated.
But you tell the kids that they need to do that.
And then I knew that sort of my strength was organizational, and that's when I kind of matriculated over to tournament directing, because I was good at organizing things, and a tournament director in a local area where I was at the time in Northern Virginia said, you really ought to look into this, because you have good ideas, and that's what really got me started.
So you gravitated towards your skill set.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's definitely not in chess. So.
I feel your
it doesn't
pain.
matter how many chess problems. It doesn't matter how many chess problems I solve. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
I can certainly sympathize with you with my 900, 800 rating. So.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that assume, Judith and I are, masters, and we're like, well, not quite. Yeah. Quite the opposite. Yeah. Mike, we really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us here at the Mechanics Institute, and we appreciate everything you're doing, and your organizational skills and leadership, taking U.S. chess, especially through this time. We have a lot of faith in you and the rest of the board, and Carol Meyer certainly, and just thank you for all that you do, and we're really excited with everything that's going with online play, and we want to ride that wave along with everyone, and so yeah, thank you.
Thanks, and I again thank you for inviting me to participate. I hope some of the members out there got something out of it, and real strong shout out to what Mechanics is doing, and appreciate the hard work that y'all are doing, and in the local area there. So thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Right. And everyone, thanks for joining us. If you're listening, please join us tonight for our usual Friday night blitz at 6.
Eight rounds.
We are resting this weekend, and then we're gonna have a USCF online rated tournament next weekend on the 19th, if I'm correct. So register for that. Second round of Tuesday Night Marathon is this coming Tuesday. We have Alex Lenderman leading the board, Grandmaster Alex Lenderman, and I think Kyron is the second one, right?
Kyron is second, Elliot Winslow, Rui, Pranav Sairam, Ashik Uzaman, and a couple others, 2 out of 2.
Yeah, so it's not too late to sign up. You get 2 half-point buys, and you can enter the tournament with 1 point and be paired for the third round on Tuesday. And I think that's it. And anything else I missed?
Judith is a master promoter as well, as you well know. So. Okay,
have a good afternoon, everyone, and see you tonight.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.